Hi there, I'm Jen Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studio, and today I got a great project for you. We are going to take a simple pumpkin that you could find from Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any of your craft stores, and turn this into a gorgeous pumpkin that has a leopard foil on it. So join me for this great tutorial as I take you through all the steps. So before we put on this gorgeous foil, there are a few steps that you want to actually do here, or that we have to do. So first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and get rid of my receipt or my little tag and just wipe it down. Just make sure that there's nothing else like stuck to it. Okay, no big deal. And we're going to prime this. We're going to be using a product it's called Bondago. It's by Perfetto, and it is a paint and primer all in one. And I love using this because it really does have great adhesion. As you can see, had an issue there almost getting my lid off, okay? I do like to always stir my product first, okay? So make sure you stir it up. Don't just open the lid and go for it. Sometimes there'll be some separation. So best to get that stirred up. And then we're just going to go ahead and paint the entire surface. Now I'm not going to paint the stem. I'm going to leave it as is for now. Who knows if I might do something to it later, but we're going to put 100% coverage of the black Bondago onto the entire pumpkin. And I'm picking black for a couple of reasons. Black tends to be a great color underneath most foils. And the foil that I chose actually has black on it. So it's a great choice to go underneath this particular foil. Sometimes where the stems are, you might have a little bit of a challenge getting paint underneath there, but just work it from side to side. Once we get the entire surface painted, you're going to want to let this dry, okay? This is some kind of a styrofoam pumpkin with some kind of a plastic coating over the top. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm always allowing my paints to dry a little longer when I'm on a substrate like this, where you just don't know how well anything is going to adhere to the surface. So once I get the paint on here, I'm gonna let this dry for a couple of hours. If you're really concerned, you could always even let it dry overnight and just make sure that you have really good adhesion. So once I get the whole thing painted, I'm going to show you these cute little called painter's triangles that we can set the pumpkin on so that it can dry and not get stuck to the paper or anything. And that way you can paint the entire thing at once if you've got a stem thick enough to hold on to. So now I just need to finish out the bottom. And I am using what's called an art wash brush so that I can brush everything on pretty smooth. It doesn't leave too much brush stroke. Just kind of going back and making sure that I have 100% coverage. I'm going to try to do this in one coat if possible. So just kind of go back, critique your painting job, make sure you have it everywhere. And then I'm going to go grab those painter's triangles. And show you these. Now you can get them, they used to have these at Home Depot, but I think they're just now available on Amazon. But they come in packs where you can just set your projects on top of them, and that way you can let this dry, okay? So we're gonna let this dry and we'll be back for our next step. So our first coat of paint is dry, and this was again, just to remind you, our Bondago Black, which is a paint and primer all in one. And the next step we're going to do is apply a foil adhesive. And the foil adhesive is a sticky glue that has to be put on first to create an actual transfer of the foils. So this is what it looks like. This just happens to be a large gallon container. And I always take it out of my container and I'm putting on what I call a sticky plate. And this is just a foam plate, but it has layers and layers of foil adhesive on here. And I basically use the plate over and over again until it just gets too dirty, okay, and other stuff gets stuck to it because it will stay sticky forever. The foil adhesive never dries beyond a firm tack. So it's always going to remain sticky. Okay, let me just get my big bucket out of the way. And the next thing that I like to do, let's get our little triangles out of the way, is add a little bit of water. Okay, so I'm using a spray mist bottle. This puts out a lot lighter spray than a regular spray bottle. So I'm basically only putting maybe 1 to 2% water being added to the foil adhesive. Okay, and just take your brush and mix it in there well. But what this does is the product is pretty thick and does not self-level, which can be an issue. So if you water it down a little bit before you're brushing it on, it will help it to not have such distinctive brush strokes. Okay, it just allows it to go on a lot smoother. So you're going to do 100% coverage of the foil adhesive. And I love when I'm brushing this on because it's milky white to start with, and then it goes crystal clear when it dries. So you know exactly where it's going. And you can see I do have some brush strokes, but they're just not really heavy brush strokes. So we're going to go ahead and get 100% coverage on here. And then we're going to allow the foil adhesive to dry for at least an hour. Okay, if you're in a humid area, let it dry even longer. Humidity has a tendency to play a little trick on the foil adhesive and just does not let it dry as quickly. So if you're humid, give it, 3-4 hours. You can never allow it to dry too long. It will never dry beyond the firm tack. So it's always going to be sticky. If you do allow it to dry overnight, just make sure you put it someplace safe that nothing else can get stuck on it. So if you have animals around the house, make sure that they can't get close to it because their hair will get stuck on the foil adhesive. And like I said, it does not self-level. So as you are applying your foil adhesive, you really do want to brush it out so that you have smooth application and that your brush strokes aren't going in every different direction. So just try to make sure that you have as smooth application as you can apply. And then it does get a little trickier as you get through the project. Okay, I'm having someplace to hold on to. Okay, so I'm going to try to get the whole top section done, and I'm kind of brushing down as far as I can just reach with my brush, and then I'll get the whole bottom of it done here in a second. So you don't have to worry if you get going on your project and you get interrupted and you can't get back to put your foil over your adhesive right away. Don't worry. It can set here forever, okay? There's been times where I've actually had projects that I had prepared, had my foil adhesive on them, thought I was going to get back to them the next day, and they actually sat for weeks, maybe even months before I was able to finish them out, okay? So I'm just holding on to the stem, which I'm hoping does not break, okay? Because the foil adhesive is so sticky, it could get stuck to the paper. So I'm just trying to keep it off the table. And we're almost about done with this. Okay, so I'm just going to try to clean up my brush strokes a little bit. This is the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, but Just want to make sure that they feather into the sides neatly. So just check that. Make sure you have 100% coverage, because if you don't have foil adhesive somewhere, you're not going to have any transfer of foil there. I'm just cleaning up where it looks like my finger hit it. And then we'll put it back on the triangles. So that'll keep it off the ground. And we're just going to let this dry for an hour or so, and we'll be back to show you how to transfer your foil. Okay, I have given my foil adhesive plenty of time to dry. I think I let it sit for at least a couple hours. And we're now going to move on to the foil. And I want to just tell you a little bit about the foil and what it is, so that you have an idea of what I'm doing here. But the foils are basically a metallization that are on the back of a clear carrier, okay, kind of like a cellophane, kind of a clear plastic. The side that you're seeing right now is actually the plastic side, and the metallization is on the back side. So all you have to do, as we get that stuck, okay, that's a really good lesson. Try not to get your foil too close to your project that has foil adhesive on it, because it's super sticky and it'll get stuck. Okay, I've allowed it to sit onto these little triangles while it dries. You can see they got stuck to it, but we can get rid of those now. And I've actually cut a piece of foil I'm going to put onto the surface. I'm going to put the pumpkin on it. That way, with my pumpkin getting stuck to anything, it's going to be just stuck to the foil itself, okay? Because if you stick this directly onto paper, it'll get stuck to the paper. So I've cut some pieces here, okay? And we're going to turn these to where they are what I call always pretty side facing up. That means you want to be seeing the beautiful side of the foil. And you can use several different brushes, okay? This is just your regular nail scrubbing brush. I also have like I want to say it's more like a bathroom multi-purpose scrub brush. All these bristles are plastic, they're just stiff. And then for small sections, we'll actually grab a toothbrush. I try to find the firm toothbrush, and this one I actually even gave it a haircut and made the bristles shorter so it was a little bit more firm. And all you're going to do is scrub the surface. And scrubbing the surface transfers the metallization to the adhesive. So the foil is going to get caught onto the high areas first and not down into your low crevices. So you have to basically like remove the foil or lift it up there. And then if we should go back, you can get it to fall back into those lower areas. So it is kind of a personal thing, how much coverage you want or don't want. So you can keep peeking underneath and seeing if you've accomplished what you want. If not, just take that foil, move it over to the area that you want more coverage. And I'm just getting in here with my toothbrush so I can get a little bit more precise and get coverage in those areas. So I'm just going to keep moving my foil around where I still have the pattern left on the foil and get into those low areas. And continue to work around until we have complete coverage, or as much coverage as we personally desire, okay? And I'm going to look to get as much coverage as I can. And sometimes even taking smaller sheets, cut a little bit smaller, okay, are easier to manage when you're coming back and doing that fill in. I chose black because I knew black would be complementary underneath this foil. And you basically want to pick a color that is complementary to your foil, or pick black. Black seems to work no matter what color the foil is. So I'm kind of piecing as I go, or I can wait and go all the way around the pumpkin and then come back and piece in any places that I feel that are missing or need more coverage. Okay, the underneath the stem is going to be kind of tricky because it's kind of tight right there. But let's see. And if you can see from your side that I've missed something, that's where I'll come back and critique everything probably once I have it completely covered, or I feel like it's completely covered. So when you're coming back and filling in, make sure you're using a piece of the foil that still has the pattern on it, okay? Because if it is clear where it looks like all the design has been transferred, that's just going to be plastic on the other side and it's not going to transfer anything. Okay, and I'm just going to cut the sheets that I already have out here. I'm cutting them in halves so they're a little bit smaller because I think they're easier to handle when they're a little bit smaller. That way you don't have a big sheet that you're trying to manage. And as you can see, as you're doing this, the foils are going to get wrinkled and crinkled and all kinds of wonderful stuff is going to happen. So don't worry about it. They all still tend to come out really cool, even with all the wrinkles and crinkles. I think it just adds character. Okay, we just about have this. Okay, I think we've got a couple more sections here, and then I'll go back and critique, and then also get the bottom of it done. So having a couple different size brushes handy, I think always works really good so that you can get into some of those smaller areas. And I'm just going to cut one more piece here in half, and this might do all the fill-in area, or the lower area, I should say. So I know that this is noisy. Hopefully I'm talking loud enough that I'm talking over my scrubbing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom piece that I have stuck on here. And then this way I'll know how much more area we need to fill in. Okay, so see how it grabbed only the high areas? As I pull it away, it's now going to sit down into the lower recessed areas, and that you can finish it out. Okay, so just take all of our leftover little sheets here, and we can get the section between the top and the bottom done. And try to make sure that you're only using those pieces of foil that still have that metallization on there. We kind of refer to it as scraps, okay? All these little scrap pieces where it still has the design. And you can just go back and fill in. Let's see. I might have just cut just enough. I've got another piece here, and we're just coming back and filling in these small areas now. Okay, last piece here, I think we'll do this. Okay, now it's the critique time. And you can even rub with your finger. Sometimes that'll work. I love the scrub brush because it seems to always get the most coverage for me. I'm going to work the stem area here a little bit more. Okay, I think I've just about mastered this pumpkin. I hope you can see how absolutely gorgeous it is with this silver leopard. Okay, to finish this off, we need to definitely apply a top coat. And just about any top coat is going to work. We just suggest that you make sure that you like the sheen of that top coat. I'm going to actually use our brush on, which is our Golden Paintworks gloss top coat. And I'm going to give it a full coat of coverage, just like I did everything else. I'll put it back up on my little painter's triangle so it can dry, and then that's it. So I'm so glad that Damon invited me to be part of this challenge, and I'm so looking forward to seeing this decorated on the mantle. Thank you guys for joining me.